Pecharunt is the new mythical based for berry, but what if it was not the only one? The newest event in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet centers around a petulant Pecharunt appearing in Mosui Town in Kritisani and making everyone it feeds mochi to do a cringe TikTok dance. Only you, with the help of your best pals from back in Paldea, can help. Oh no, they're cringe too. Oh god, no! The only one that can help you is the crybaby turned Omega Chad turned crybaby again. Kieran! Together, you subdue the problematic pink prankster, and you can chuck it in the box with the rest of its toxic brethren. This Pokemon is the one that's responsible for making this trio of conceited criminals that tried to game over Ogerpon over some sparkly masks, twisting them from their former inadequate selves into the form they wished for, but imbuing them with its spiteful poison, as it's been theorized has also been done to Top Knot Boy over here. Pecharunt, a Pokemon based off of the Pokemon franchise's equivalent to a peach, the Pecha Berry, plays a part in the story of the Teal Mask that itself is the reverse of a real-world Japanese folktale about a boy called Momotaro. In the story, he is born from a peach, and with the help of a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant, he goes to slay an Oni in exchange for dumplings. Reverse that, and you get a peach creature employing 3 Pokemon to go steal from a demon. In this story, the peach and its allies are the villains, and they're beaten by the little girl boss Oni, and they all lived happily ever after. There are a lot of berries in Pokemon. What if some of the others also had an evil alter ego? I took 3 of the more iconic ones and gave them the Pecharunt treatment, complete with allies they've chained into aiding them on their devious crusades. As always, put the kettle on, grab the tea bags, subscribe if you haven't, and let me show you what I've made this time. Starting off with a berry that, until about 8 years ago, was one of the most irrelevant of the bunch. Introduced in Gen 3 as just a poffin ingredient, the raspberry exploded in recognizability when it was made one of the most common items in the monumentally successful Pokemon Go. Even receiving a gold form, this is a somewhat spicy red berry, based off of the real-world raspberry. Popular for its use in desserts, the raspberry isn't actually a berry, but is a cluster of around 100 druplets, making it an aggregate fruit. The Latin name for this fruit, Rubus idaeus, is related to the story I've chosen for its Pokemon counterpart. According to Greek legend, the raspberry was once a white fruit devoid of all colour that grew high up upon Mount Ida. A nymph of the same name was the nursemaid of the infant god king Zeus, and one day went to fetch him raspberries to cheer him up. When she went to pick the berries, she pricked either her finger or her boob on the thorn. The stories I read varied. Her blood stained the raspberries red forevermore. Outside of this story, the raspberry has been used in multiple cultures to treat pain associated with childbirth and related fun feminine issues, and its berries, protected by thorns, have made it a symbol of protection. With all this put together, this is the Pokemon I created. Mesmeraz, the subjugation Pokemon, is a small red Pokemon that imbues its chosen allies with whatever they wish for, in return for their very color and joy. Mesmeraz uses its signature ghost-type move, siphoning chains, to damage the opponent, and has a 50% chance of increasing its speed by 2 stages. Opposing the story of Ida and the raspberries, this time, instead of the raspberries being stained red when someone came into contact with them, Mesmeraz steals the color of those it touches, leaving them blanched and hollow. Considering the raspberry's maternal association, this Pokemon seeks out victims that wish for family and grants their wishes, but at a cost. One such Pokemon that underwent this deal is a mother that lost her egg, a Blissey whose egg went rotten. The raspberry Pokemon granted her wish to get her egg and wrapped her with its chains, leaving this altered Blissey behind. Like the Loyal 3, this Pokemon uses its enhanced stats to carry out its twisted will, stealing eggs from any daycare it finds and using the negative energy it generates to empower its ally so that its own egg may grow bigger and stronger. The egg will never hatch, however, and the Mesmeraz will continue to feed upon the Blissey until she can bear her burden no longer. The next of the 3 mythical berries is one recognizable to those who like to use the healing move, Rest. The Chesto Berry is a lilac and yellow berry that wakes Pokemon that hold it, based off of the chestnut, which, as its name implies, is also not actually a berry. These are the nuts of the chestnut tree, which have less in the way of legends around them than the other 3 mythical berries. There is, however, a story about a particular specimen of sweet chestnut tree that still stands to this day in Italy, the 100-horse chestnut tree. This tree is between 2,000 and 3,000 years old and has survived all this time on the slopes of Mount Etna, an active volcano. This remarkable tree gets its name from the time it supposedly sheltered the Queen of Aragon and her company of 100 knights during a severe thunderstorm. This badass tree inspires its mythical berry, which, rather than allowing 100 knights to sleep in safety, is a Pokemon strong enough to put 100 100 nights to sleep. It does this by stealing the sleep energy of the Pokemon it grants wishes to. Dechesto is a mythical Pokemon that uses its insomnia chains in battle to deal damage and has a 50% chance to put all Pokemon on the opposite side of the field to sleep, although it needs a lot of sleep energy to do so. One of the Pokemon that Dechesto has enthralled to fuel its own machinations is an unusual Snorlax that once wished that it didn't have to sleep quite so much. Its wish was granted, but at the cost of its sanity. No longer able to sleep, thanks to the power of the chains, this Snorlax rampages tirelessly and makes full use of its massive bulk, but will one day run itself so ragged that it can no longer sustain itself. The final of the 3 mythical berry Pokemon I've made is based off of perhaps the most average, most boring, most everyday, unassuming berry of them all, the Oranberry. This is the Ford Fiesta of berries. You need a bit of healing early game? You got a Pokemon that doesn't have a hold item yet? Oranberry. She solves all your problems until you get past the first gym. This berry restores 10 HP and, despite its blue hue, is actually based off of oranges, which is also weird because, yet again, it is a fruit and not actually a berry. Oranges are sweet citrus fruits native to southern Asia. This fruit has been theorized to be the inspiration for the legendary Greek fruit of the gods, the golden apples of immortality. Given to Zeus as a wedding gift, these oranges were grown in a garden on the edge of the world and guarded by a group of nymphs known as the Hesperides. And that wasn't enough, so he chucked in a dragon called Ladon just for luck. Hercules, yes, that Hercules, was given the task of fetching the golden apples after the 10 labors he'd done were deemed not good enough. Knowing that he wasn't the man for the job, he went up to Atlas, the guy who holds the world on his shoulders, and asked him to go get the fruits for him, since his daughters were the ones guarding it, so him being there wouldn't be sus. Herc shoulders the world while Atlas goes and does the work for him. They swap the apples for the earth, and Herc lives to see another day. The mythical Oranberry story is, of course, the inverse of Hercules' one. Like Hercules using Atlas to steal the golden apples of immortality, this berry uses a Pokemon to steal immortality. Degeneran drains the life force from its target using its atrophy chains, which hit for 100 damage and have a 50% chance of restoring half of Degeneran's health. This small blue Pokemon targets Pokemon with high amounts of vitality to steal the source of its life. The bigger the source, the better, in exchange for a wish being granted. One of the most potent targets of Degeneran's atrophy chains is a creature at the source of the terrestrial phenomenon. This Pokemon is a major component in the intricate balance of Area Zero and the ecosystem it supports, intrinsically linked with everything alive in its domain. This little turtle was feeling down at everyone's reaction to it. It's just a little turtle. Why doesn't it look like that all the time? So feeling inadequate, it sought the help of Degeneran so that it could look like its terrestrial form all the time. Now entwined in chains, this Terapagos made of crystal has the size it desired, but the energy it continuously expels is so powerful that none can go near it. The Degeneran infecting it has an endless source of life energy, and it's unclear as to whether the host Terapagos will ever exhaust itself of terrestrial power. Whether it be trading power for glittering treasures, bright colours, the comfort of sleep, or life itself, these tiny, unassuming berry Pokemon can have catastrophic effects on those surrounding them. These deceptively malevolent Pokemon cannot be taken lightly and must be avoided or restrained at all costs, lest they make you do cringe dances too. You helped me be the best I ever was to pay my rent. Yeah, that's my cause. Nick, Charles, Rachel Lynn, Edward White, Save Pimp, EX Happy Face, Lucas Gates, Pancake, Zachary Green, Ryan B, Brandon Likes, Bogle 169, Note Cast, Immortal Labs, Lord Twellington, Fruit 319. That's all I got for this one. If you want in, join the Patreon.